Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem movie review. Overall, it was an alright movie. Probably my least favorite, actually, of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchises. I mean, it was a different style movie, but I just wasn't feeling it, how things were portrayed. It took a while, actually, to get used to the cartoonish comic book design that they used for the movie. It was kind of weird, a little bit more comic book cartoony than like the Spider-Man movies. So I wasn't really feeling it from that perspective, and the plot itself, I was kind of like, you should come up with a little bit better part than that. But I guess that's how Seth Rogen and them decided to make it. I mean, it was nice to have another Turtle movie. I don't know. I sort of feel like it was too childish. Like the way they portrayed the Turtles was too kiddie. Granted, there was actually like kids and teenagers that voiced the characters, the main four. But the characters themselves were too kiddie and not even teenager-ish, is what I think what lost me as well. Like, I felt like they were more 12-year-olds and like 16-year-old turtles. Like, they were just more immature feeling than actual like Ninja Turtles. So maybe that's that. Obviously, they did a quick backstory of how the Turtles became, and like how Baxter Stockman actually created the ooze. And one thing I did notice was it was TCRI instead of TGRI, which was the main company for like the live action turtle movies. So that did throw me off a little bit, like why they're not using TGRI and they use TCRI instead. I'm actually going to hopefully remember to look that up, why they switched. I don't know if it's a comic book thing or whatnot, but it was kind of weird that they didn't stick with that. Maybe it's copyrighted, who knows. But Baxter Stockman basically created the ooze, and Superfly, if you remember him as the character, was the main villain, because Baxter basically got killed in the first 5 minutes of the movie. But he made Superfly before he died and got taken down by like some SWAT or Secret Service team. I don't know what they really were. I don't think we ever really got told who that group was. It would be interesting to see what they actually called that group. It might have been named, but who knows. But he actually created a bunch of mutants at one time before he got taken down, and Superfly actually saved them and raised them himself through the years till they actually meet like 15 years later. I guess that's why the Turtles are only 15, they're not like 16, 17, but they still, again, feel more 12-year-old, 10 to 12-year-old than 15 or 16. Splinter is more of like a goofy dad figure than like a strict ninja style parent. It was just kind of off for your traditional Ninja Turtle movies. Even April was not the same. I guess they were just trying to go from a different angle for all the characters and plot. I just wasn't feeling it, because I wanted more of like a traditional Ninja Turtle movie, and this was definitely something different. They're already going to make a second one with the end credit, you know it's coming. So all the mutants that you know and love, like Bebop, Rocksteady, and all of them, like Gecko, Leatherhead, I always forget all the names, but whatever. Like all the bad mutants that you know and love are in this movie. So there was a little bit more mutants than normal. I was like, do you really need to have all these characters in this movie as well? Which I really don't think you did. I understand at the end why they did, but you should have left a bunch of them out. I guess it was probably just hyping things up. So, getting back to the plot itself, the Turtles basically want to live or visit outside world, you know, visit the streets of New York. They're not really allowed, even though they go out and get groceries and stuff like that. They do run into April because they were playing around on a rooftop, you know, slicing watermelon first, and then they threw like a ninja star at a watermelon, and it ended up hitting her in the helmet, like down below the rooftop. And then her bike got stolen while she was yelling at the Turtles. So that their first fight was them beating up some, I don't know, like car thief, bike thief gang. Which they were kind of clumsy early on since it was their first fight. But she got her bike back, and that's how they met April and got to know her a little bit more. She was actually a high school kid as well. She wanted to be a journalist. She actually had a nickname, April Puke, because she had a chance to be on the news at the school, and she ended up puking when it was her time to shine. So that's why her classmates gave her the April Puke nickname on her locker and such. So she was trying to redeem herself by breaking the story on the Superfly story, because Superfly and his gang was stealing a bunch of stuff all throughout the city to build some kind of machine to make everybody a mutant. So he was piecing things together bit by bit to make this machine, and he was using different like actual human gangs to do his dirty work. And if you ever got to see him, like his face, he ended up killing you. He really didn't like humans. Neither did Splinter. Splinter was really adamant on humans being bad and milking the Turtles and him for their ooze and DNA and blood, whatever. They just called him milking. So there's that. So anyway, with the April thing, like, they decided to help April break the story on Superfly, like bring him to justice, so they could get some notoriety and show people that they're harmless, so they could actually go to school and walk the streets of New York. That was sort of their goal. But when they met up with Superfly to deliver a part, you know, to find out where, you know, his lair was, or to bring him down, that's when like all the mutants came out, and you see them all. And then they went and bowled for a while, like hang out. And then when they were going to go back to his lair, which is actually an abandoned ship in New York, they tried to get away with the part. They actually flipped their van that they were in. That's when chaos started to ensue. That's when they became enemies of all the mutants. And then later on, well, right then and there, actually, they got beat up pretty good and left. That's when that Secret Service military human group came and actually took them away a little bit. And they actually did get milked for their ooze. I guess that's going to play more into the second movie. really didn't play a factor into the first one too much. It's just like a subplot, I guess. But April had to go to the sewer, get Splinter to come break them out, which he did. So then they went back to Superfly's lair, and he was like building the machine and, you know, saying about joining him still. And this like plot to like turn all animals, insects, every living creature but humans into mutants. So they would be the dominant species, whereas humans would be more like the pet or food or whatever the case may be. But all the bad mutants that you know, like Bebop and Rocksteady and them, they really didn't want to be part of that. They didn't really have an issue with humans, you know, because they wanted to live a normal life as well. Which was kind of weird that, you know, Bebop and Rocksteady were actually sort of good guys in this movie, which you never really see ever. So that was different. Then they all started to attack Superfly and tried to destroy the machine that he built that was going to turn everybody into all living creatures except humans into mutants. But when they destroyed it and it exploded, it actually sank down into the water below, and it made him some super mutant monster, like a whale monster, whatever. Which is kind of weird because it was a whale and it was New York, so I don't really think whales are in New York. I could be wrong, at least in the bays. So that was kind of an odd twist to that. And then he, I guess I'm going to call it, flapped to some zoo where he basically transformed a bunch of the zoo animals to his body. Somehow, like the ooze that he gushed out from being some super huge, like, skyscraper type creature now onto those animals in the zoo. Like, they sort of like meshed into him. There was like an elephant and stuff like that as well. And he just started destroying the city, and he was laughing at the turtles because he's like, oh, you guys made me so much bigger, stronger now. You ain't gonna be able to stop me. Well, all the bad mutants that you know, Bebop and Rocksteady and all them, they all joined the turtles because they all wanted to be good to stop him, but they were getting thrashed pretty good because he was just so much bigger. But they had these guns that Secret Service group, again, I don't know what their name was, they had these guns with like an anti-mutagen. They had one of those and they were trying to shoot Superfly. They did once and hit him in the leg, and like a horse dropped off, which I was just like, this is just stupid. But they found this big like well blowhole type thing on his back, so they figured if they get that anti-mutagen in there, it would kill him. So that was their plan. So all the mutants like worked together to do that, and then humans helped as well. Well, a little bit back, just a little bit. At first, as he was destroying the city, the news broke that, you know, 4 turtles and other mutants are destroying the city. They're bad guys. You know, got to do something to stop them. They're really bad people. Well, April went to that news station and went live on the news and explained the actual backstory, that the turtles were good. They were there to stop Superfly. They were actually on the good side, so don't be afraid of them. Well, you see the turtles get snatched up. Splinter tries to save them, but he gets whacked by Superfly's arm. And as he's laying there, like, hurt a little bit, you see like humans come up to him, and he gets gets scared a little bit because all his life, you know, he didn't really like humans, was scared of them. And then he realized they were there to help him, and that's when like the humans helped all the mutants a little bit until they were getting like thrashed around, and then the mutants basically took over and stopped Superfly. So that was good. Like that aspect of it was, you know, different and fun because you see the teamwork of like all your normal bad guys coming together for one cause. Because I guess down inside they all wanted to be good. It just felt a little bit weird. And then after they stopped them, like everybody was, you know, so happy, and they realized that all the mutants were actually good and, you know, wanted to live normal lives. The Turtles actually went to school, high school in the end. But you see all the like the mutants living in the sewers, at least for now. Towards the end, like they were all living together, having a good time. So that was different. So all the bad guys that you know and love know where the Turtles live, so they're not going to be hard to find in subsequent movies, I guess. See how that all plays out. That might be a little bit interesting. Who knows? And that was about it for that. But early on, like when they were explaining some of the backstory of the Turtles, Splinter did take them up to the surface, walked around, but they realized he was actually like a big rat. So everybody was afraid of him and chasing him around, and that's when he said never again, and, you know, pushed how bad humans were and how they were going to get milked if humans got them and they would just kill them. So it's kind of a scare tactic, but at the same time, you know how humans are. So it was kind of a real type scenario. And then the end credit spoiler scene, that Secret Service group again, which I guess is going to be probably the Foot Clan. I don't know. It's going to turn into the Foot. I have that feeling. They hinted out about finding the Turtles, and they're like, well, we don't know where you're at, but the one woman who's in charge of the group says, I know somebody who can find them. And then they flash to like a Shredder shadow. So obviously the second movie is going to have Shredder in it, since it's already hinted at. It was just nice, actually nice not to have him in the first movie and actually have a different villain, Superfly, as a main character, like main bad guy character. But I don't know. Other than that, again, I personally didn't really care for the movie itself. It was very different, and it felt more for kids, like younger kids, than it did for like teenagers or adults. It just felt too childish, and then the way that cartoonish comic book, you know, design that they went with was just not what I really felt should have been portrayed. Like, I want an actual like live action turtle movie, not this fake stuff. That's just me. And just when they go to that like comic book cartoonish like type design, it's sometimes it gets lost because it's just too generic, or the artwork's not great. You know, it just feels like rushed or sketched, which I understand that's what they're going for, but it just takes away from the movie some. And again, the plot, having all the mutants there pretty much felt like mutant overload. I guess it was Mutant Mayhem, you know, hit the title, but definitely too many mutants, and it did take a while to get, you know, towards the end, even though it was at the end, when the bad guys that you normally know are bad, became good. It was just had a weird feel to it. Again, I don't know if that's how like some of the newer comic books and shows are, but it's definitely not your classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles style movie. So if you're expecting that, you're going to be very disappointed. So keep your hopes low and expectations low. I know Seth really wanted to do a good job, but I also think he just tried to do it too differently, which lost a lot of normalness to the franchise. So I don't know, maybe better next time, I guess. Hopefully he doesn't see this and get too mad, but I have a lot of respect for Seth. I just feel that this was just not my cup of tea for Ninja Turtle type movies.